Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. I am joined by Reese and myself. I am of course Mark, and we are previewing the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne this weekend, and we are so excited to see what's going to happen this weekend. The third race week of the year. Reese, how excited are you?
Yes, very excited. Certainly amped up a bit more by that Red Bull bit of footage that they released earlier this week of Daniel Ricciardo driving around Australia in his RB. I think it was the RB 14.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, certainly very cool, and getting everyone very excited for this Grand Prix weekend ahead of us.
Indeed. And of course, we are in Australia, deep down in the arse end of the world, let's be honest here. And yeah, it does mean that most of us are going to be watching this in like gobsmackingly early hours. I mean, us personally, free practice 1 is at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the race itself on Sunday is at least a little bit more friendly at 7 only in the morning. So yeah, not very friendly in terms of that, of course. But we are in Melbourne, a very, very tricky track. And Reese has got, obviously, we will show you later, but he's done a lap of the track for you all to see exactly what the drivers more or less we wanted to do. And yeah, we'll go to some statistics here at Melbourne. So its first Grand Prix was held in 1996. The first Australian Grand Prix was held at Adelaide in 1985. The track length is 5.278 kilometers long. And we also look at lap record. It's a 1 minute 20 seconds, 0.26 from Charles Leclerc in 2022. Now, I think Reese's time is actually almost bang on with that. So that'll be quite interesting to go and look at later. Most pole positions, Lewis Hamilton 8 times. Most wins, Michael Schumacher 4 times. And some trivia for you, 5 Australian drivers will race at Albert Park for the first time in 2023. Oscar Piastri in F1, Jack Doohan in F2, Christian Mansell, Hugh Barter, and Tommy Smith in F3. So, yeah, of course, we've got all the F3 and F2 events also happening this weekend, so be sure to stay around the channel. We will be covering them as well. So the pole run to turn 1's breaking point is 271 meters. The overtakes completed in 2022 were 58, and the safety car probability stands at 67%. Virtual safety car probability 33%. Pit stop time loss is about 19.47 seconds, including a 2.5 second stationary stop. So that is the Melbourne track, of course. So yeah, Reece,
Yes,
what else have I missed?
A few more little stats to go on. This is the 37th running of Albert Park, the current circuit that they are racing at. Obviously, it has run 37 times except for 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID pandemic. This street circuit is obviously one of the higher speed circuits as well on our race calendar, with an average speed of 235 kilometers an hour throughout the track.
Yeah.
It's quite a high risk track. Of course, you're very close to the walls, a lot of 90-degree corners, as well as some really fast left and right-handers. Certainly a very, very good track to watch for racing.
Yeah, and you know, we go and look now at some fan views as well for the race, and says the 2 races into the 2023 season, the pecking order at the front of the grid is very much defined with the mighty Red Bull RB19 clear of the chasing pack. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez account for around 90% of the F1 play votes here, with the Dutchman holding a 5-1 edge over his Mexican teammate in terms of winning this race. And would you back that, Reese?
Yes, I certainly think Max will be on form yet again this weekend. But just reading an article here on my side that supposedly Red Bull have cleared the air over the issue in Saudi Arabia with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez over that fastest lap.
Okay, and what was the clearing the air? Was it just they're fine, or did they speak necessarily about it?
Well, it's just the article starts out just saying, after admitting some confusion over the battle for the fastest lap in Saudi Arabia, Sergio Perez says that he and Red Bull have cleared the air ahead of the 2023 Australian Grand Prix. So that's just how it starts out here.
Well, I'll be very interested to see if whether or not that is actually clearing the air, or if that's all just for the media. Maybe Sergio Perez is holding a little bit of a grudge with the team with regards to that. So, yeah, lots of things, of course, to look at in terms of Sergio Perez versus Max Verstappen, which is pretty much what the season's turning into already. So, Jolyon Palmer driver's verdict here, of course, former F1 driver for Renault, has this to say about the Melbourne circuit coming up this weekend. He says, I love the circuit. It's a really good one to find a rhythm. It's a very atmospheric circuit to drive as well. It was widened in places last year, which just ups the average speed of the place because it used to be a little bit more stop and start than it is now. They've taken out the chicane that used to be turns 9 and 10 and used the funnel cars and added the DRS zone. So there are now 4 DRS zones, which hopefully will create overtaking opportunities because as it is, you're looking at turn 11 as the prime opportunity. So that in itself is huge, having 4 DRS zones in the track. That should hopefully allow for some more overtakes this weekend, no?
Definitely, it will allow cars to be a lot close together. You'll see a lot of DRS trains, I think, forming during the race on Sunday, but it should certainly also promote a lot of overtakes.
Yeah, and they'll probably form all behind McLaren. That's the sort of thing.
McLaren or the AlphaTauris, because they are also not looking very good. Nick de Vries and Yuki Tsunoda already looking like they are not going to be competing much this race weekend, already saying that they've got some very aggressive upgrades coming soon. They'll certainly be hoping to fast track those at the moment.
100%. And, the last 5 Australian Grand Prix winners, we look at this and it goes quite interestingly, actually. In 2016 was Nico Rosberg in Mercedes. 2017 and 2018 was Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. 2019, Valtteri Bottas back in that Mercedes. And 2022, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. So it's favoured Ferrari, this track, in the last few Grand Prix that we've had in Australia, and no Red Bull anywhere in those top 5. So are we going to now see Red Bull back in that winners category there?
Red Bull or Ferrari?
I'm saying, are we just going to see Red Bull winning this one?
Oh, winning the race. Well, I'm reading an article here from Charles Leclerc saying he is not looking like there's going to be any miracles for Ferrari this race weekend. So I don't think we'll see Ferrari competing for the race win here. But the Aston Martins are expected to be extremely competitive here this weekend. So I think it's going to be a bit of a toss-up between Red Bull and Aston this weekend.
Yeah, very, very keen to see what Aston Martin can, of course, do this weekend, with Alonso again finishing on the podium for 2 race weekends in a row. Can he make it 3 this weekend, and can he finish higher than 3rd? Take on those Red Bulls. We'll be very, very interested, of course, to see what will happen there. And we look at strategy and setup keys. Bernie Collins from former Aston Martin, of course, F1 strategist. He says, for the 2022 visit to Australia, there was a step in the allocated tyre compounds, with Pirelli choosing the C2, C3 and C5 and skipping the C4 option. But this year, there will be more traditional selection of the C2, C3 and C4, as used last time out in Saudi Arabia. So those are the tyres compounds that all of the teams are going to need to make use of. And are there any other things you're keen to see what happens this weekend? I mean, Ferrari, hopefully, they sound like they're not going to pull off any miracles. Is that just them dimming down?
Just a quote here from Charles Leclerc. I've just pulled up the article. Charles Leclerc saying, I do believe we will be quite close in qualifying. I hope so, but I think the picture in the race will be quite similar to previous Grand Prix. So certainly not looking to be performing very well in the race again. I think they're just struggling with target degradation a lot more than other teams.
Yeah. And so of course we talk about qualifying and going around the track. And if you guys are wanting to get a good insight as to exactly what that looks like, we've got a very good example done by Reese, of course, who raced around, and I will talk us through the laps. So let's go and have a look at that, why don't we? Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports. We are going to be doing a lap around, or rather Reese is going to be doing a lap around the Melbourne circuit. So basically the idea of this is to go and show you exactly how more or less the drivers will want to hit these apexes and hit all the corners, etc. So we're going to follow Reese around, and I'm hoping that Reese put me on mute so that he doesn't get put off by what I do and speak about. But yeah, we are going to follow Reese out, and we're going to see him put in a very nice lap time here. Now, I think what we are going to do is just have some lap data go around and some other details. So he's on a soft, and he's going to be riding out in this Red Bull and going to be doing a lap for all of us. And of course, if you guys are interested as well, you can see why Reese beats all of us in this game as well. We do play a live stream every Thursday before a Grand Prix. We do the actual Grand Prix itself, so be sure to go and check that out on the Forever Sports Extra channel. But of course, Reese is pretty much the absolute best driver out of all of us. He plays with everything turned off, does all of the things manually, and is a very, very good driver, and that's why we're going to use him to see exactly how you should more or less go around Melbourne itself. Now, Melbourne's quite a tricky track, and it's going to be quite an interesting thing in terms of to see what Ferrari and Aston Martin or Mercedes can do in terms of trying to get back at Red Bull, given the type of track it is. Perhaps this might hopefully result in a slightly closer pack, essentially, and hopefully Red Bulls won't run away with it too much. So yeah, Reese is just going around, going into the last sector soon now, warming up those tires, and we will then start doing a lap around. As I said, we're on sector 3 currently, and then we will of course get into the lap itself. I'm just going to get the mini map up here so we can all see it as Reese is about to start coming around those final 2 bends, and you speed up to such a speed on the main straight, DRS wide open, and we start our, well, essentially the example run. Just go straight down the main straight, and then it comes to a very, very, very hard couple of corners here in the very opening things, and then immediately into a second DRS zone, which he then opens his back tails for. So we keep going through here on this long straight, and then it comes to a very hard braking zone, where it then comes to a couple of another short corners left, and then into right-hander. Now this picks up speed quite quickly, obviously going into the sector here, as we approach yet another hard turn here. See here, and we have to turn around. Very well done. See how he gets quite close to the walls, and also just going onto those bollards quite a bit. So there's quite a lot of that sort of thing that you'll see, getting very close to these walls. Of course, it's a bit of a street circuit, Melbourne, and yeah, walls are very close, but this year they've of course also made them slightly wider. It's a long, long straight, but it's not a DRS straight, and then it comes into these quick hairpins turns here, and then comes into the third DRS zone of the track here, which has got a little bit of turns on it, which is interesting for a DRS zone, and then comes to a hard braking zone to avoid the gravel over there. Coming into the final 3 turns now, it makes 1 turn here, then a left-hander, a very hard left-hander, which you have to brake hard for, then comes out into the final turn, which will obviously come into the last DRS zone, and will enter now, and then you will cross the line. Reese is going to do this in about a 120, yeah, 120.4. So that's exactly what the sort of lap should look like in Melbourne. So that's what we're going to look forward to seeing if you follow everybody on the track in these practice sessions and in the qualifying and the race. That's the sort of more or less sort of the way you want to go around the track, and also gives you a good feel of what the track looks like. So thank you very much for watching, and going to go off back to whatever we are currently doing. So thank you for watching Forever Motorsports as well. Bye bye everybody. Hello everybody, and yeah, we've got that music. Just playing 2 seconds. Yeah, so that was of course the lap around Melbourne there, and Reese, of course, thank you very much for doing that lap. How did you think you did?
Well, that was a little bit of a slow lap for me. Bit more pressure, obviously, with you talking in my ears. So I was about 2 seconds slower than my current fastest lap around Melbourne, which hopefully we'll be seeing tonight in our gaming stream. Please do tune into that if you are around.
Yes, indeed.
But yes, I certainly think I should be able to go at least a bit faster than a 120.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this preview for the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Lots to look forward to, of course, this race weekend. And it pretty much just gets going in about not even 8 hours. So we're really close to getting going with that. So thank you for watching Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment your thoughts about the Grand Prix. And of course, we will keep seeing you throughout the race weekend. Thank you. Goodbye.